Hello, everybody. Welcome to the I can't believe it's July 2026 LinkedBanker Happy Hour. We are live across LinkedIn and my Facebook profile and the LinkedBanker YouTube channel. Yeah, we're going to have a nice conversation. We were chatting a little bit before we pushed the live button about some things that I know I want to talk about. But to give you all a little bit of background, in case you've never been to one of these happy hours before, they are unscripted. They are totally live. So I can guarantee you're going to hear me stumble on my tongue at least a couple of times. And I'm not going to go back and edit it because that makes it real and proves that I'm not an AI bot or an avatar, because those don't do those things. But these are just opportunities for people to get together that have a passion and an interest in the world of banking and financial services and technology and innovation to just share ideas and thoughts and chit chat. And I think of it back when I was a Rotarian, they used to have a boasts and brags part right after we got done with lunch that you had to pay $1 and stand up and give a boast or a brag. We're not going to charge you $1. If there's something cool that's going on in your world, we want to hear about it and tell everybody else out there. So if you are interested in coming up like Martha and RJ have done and joining us for the conversation and not just sitting in the audience listening to us yap, you can visit the URL that's on the screen here. Go to www.thelinkedbanker.com/happy hour. And that will take you to a page. Scroll down, and on the left-hand side, you'll actually see a link to come up and be part of the Restream event. I'll see you in the waiting room, and then I'll let you in, and you can come up and have a chit-chat with us, and we would love to have you join us. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and hide this and show our names. So both of you have been on happy hours before, but we'll start with ladies first. Introduce yourself. What do you do? And we'll then pass it over to RJ, and then we'll kind of do round robin and see what we want to talk about today and get the ball rolling. So Martha, over to you.
Hey, hello. I'm Martha Bartlett-Pyland. I'm founder, president, CEO of Banktastic. We are a bank marketing branding firm that helps marry internal brand and external brand in really unique, value-driven ways. And I have a book out. Well, actually, I have 2 books out.
You have 2 books.
But this
I can
is
go grab mine again.
My most recent one, Don't Just Brand There, Do Something. And we also have a National Millennial Advisory Board who helps guide the work that we do for clients who want to appeal to that audience receiving a huge wealth transfer.
Awesome. Yeah, huge wealth transfer. Those bankers out there that are not paying close attention to that next gen because it might not be the most profitable segment right now, as Martha can attest, better make sure they're paying attention. I wrote a blog post about that and was inspired by some of the conversations that I've had with you and others. So yes, indeed. RJ, with or without Stogie, I don't know if there's a bourbon in your other hand, but you are taking happy hour to the max, my friend.
Well, and, as you know, living in Michigan, when you're in Michigan, when you're in Michigan, you have to enjoy these beautiful days like we have today. So just out, figured, you know what, might as well sit on the patio, have a cigar, and participate. It's a week that I'm not traveling, so I'm able to be able to jump in and do this. RJ Grimshaw, Able Leadership. I'll use a line from Eric, recovering CEO for an equipment financing company that was owned by Bank of Ann Arbor, located in Ann Arbor, Michigan. So I dabble between banking, equipment financing, specialty finance, and really just trying to help organizations now figure out this whole AI thing. And, it's been a great 3 years of riding it. And I think the best is yet to come. So I really do think that after we get through all the fears and everything else and peel it away, there's a lot of value that we're going to be able to extrapolate and, build better people, build better businesses, and build better economies.
Yep. Totally agree. So cool. Well, welcome. Maybe some others will join us as well, but at least I don't have to do it solo. And I mean, I'm happy to talk for an hour. You guys both know me. I don't have a problem doing that. But it's always a lot more fun when it's not just me and a webcam having a conversation. So, well, I alluded to a couple of things when we were in our pre-show, but I don't want to jump right in and steal the thunder. I don't know if there was anything that either of you were bringing to today's happy hour that was on your mind that you'd like to chat about, but I would love to turn it over to you and see what's on your mind, what's been occupying your thoughts, what do you want to talk about, and we can get started there. So again, Martha, we'll start with you.
Oh gosh, you put me in the hot seat.
I did.
Okay.
I'm being such a gentleman, ladies first. So, you know.
Well, thank you. I don't know. I've just been kind of noodling some things around in my head because I wanted to be a good. Oh, hi, Neil.
Here comes Neil. Yeah.
Do you want to let Neil introduce himself?
Yeah. And he looks like he's frozen. So this is Neil, our frozen friend that does a lot with deposits. And so he's going to unfreeze and go, darn internet. There he is. Can you hear us, Neil? Hello, check one. Can you hear us? Neil Stanley. Come in, Neil Stanley. Hello, hello, hello.
He's looking for that mute. He's looking for it.
By the way,
he's looking for it.
This is totally a Gen X thing to do, right? Because this is when telephones like looked like a phone. Like kids do this these days, or they just do this. Like if I were a millennial or a Gen Z, I would text him. I wouldn't call him. So Neil, can you hear us while we're trying to get your audio to work? Maybe, maybe not. Not like we're doing anything. We're just picking on you. And all right. So we will give Neil a pass, and I might shoot him a quick little text message. But Martha, over to you. Let's continue. You sound like you had something that you wanted to chat about.
Well, I knew we would all be talking about AI today, but I was also thinking about, obviously things are changing so fast, and with AI and with stablecoin and this and that, and we also know that a lot of banks and credit unions are sort of huddled in their comfort zone. And I was thinking, I would love to hear what you all think about what are people spending on right now that's not creating competitive advantage anymore? Like, what are some things they should be getting rid of or leaving behind so they can pursue some of these other things?
Ooh. I've got one idea that just popped into my head, but RJ, what are your thoughts? I'm going to jot down my idea so old man brain doesn't kick in and I can get it. Like,
that's a loaded question. And I think that a lot of people, you're definitely, Martha, looking at it the right way, versus the historical. We've always done it like this. And I believe leaders are starting to understand as they work with these different LLMs that the real competitive advantage will come from the wisdom in terms of their strategy of building out their workflows and using these tools in different capacities, and not looking at it, allowing Fiserv or Jack Henry or whoever the provider is to come in and say, this is how you do your business. That's a big answer, but I think the long tail will be those organizations that do that. Just my opinion.
Yeah. I think the comment that you made, RJ, is kind of in alignment with what I'm like. Things have changed. People need to be doing things differently. And I was approached by a bank, shall remain nameless, not gonna go there, but reached out wanting to know if I would have any interest in participating or helping out with some strategic planning for a particular segment that they wanted to go after, very defined. And my original response was, yeah, I could probably do that, and I could build a plan, and we could do a research, and we could kind of go after that particular segment. But then I stepped back and I was like, but how would we do this in the world of AI? How would we, because the analogy that we often use when we take on clients and we help them with AI is we would much rather teach a man or a woman to fish than necessarily continue to feed them with fish. Now, when we get them to a point where they understand certain things that we've taught them and we don't need to, because now they know how to fish for that particular feature or function or role from an AI perspective, there's another fish swimming around that nobody knows what the hell is going on. And so we kind of have to move, and we're playing leapfrog. So there's a continual learning cycle that comes in, but we really want to make sure that there's not the dependency, because we can't be in the organization all the time. We need to train the organization how to think differently and approach challenges and problems with a different mindset. And so as I stepped back and I said, is this really what's best, in my opinion, for the institution, or is there a different way to approach this? Would it be better, and this was a little outside of the box, would it be better to approach this as, let's build a strategic thought process framework where the issue at hand about a particular customer segment is the challenge, and we build a framework that questions, that analyzes, that deciphers, that gathers all the info on the problem at hand, that we then can use to build a plan. But then when that plan's done, the next problem, a different customer segment, a different product challenge, a different issue, we've now got the framework where we can jump right in and just give it different variables, and we kick out another strategic plan that doesn't have to then, okay, let's do another scope, let's find another consultant, let's bring in, and we solve a problem with one particular effort. And then another problem comes up, we do that again. And it just seemed like that's the old way of thinking. It was a little outside of the box, a little unconventional. And at the end of the day, the decision was made not to go that approach. It might have been how I presented it. It might have been feeling too much of boiling the ocean. But the concern that I have for organizations that don't start thinking that way, or it's like, in the next 6 months, maybe we're ready for that, those types of things. This is all moving so quickly that without having the ability to get out of your comfort zone and reinvent processes that can then be replicated, it's almost like you got to take 2 or 3 steps back to make 20 steps forward. Nobody has time to take 2 or 3 steps backwards right now. We're all just running at full speed. And I'm as guilty of it as anybody. There's stuff that I know I should be doing that I'm not doing. But I think that's one of the bigger challenges, not necessarily what's not making money or what's causing too much expense, but we're not taking the time to invest into where we could be in 12 months because we're worried how crappy things could look in 3, because we're going to have to take a step back and let some stuff go and put some things aside. That was a really long answer, and I hope that you kept up with all of that.
I think Eric, it's absolutely brilliant, because at the end of the day, we're a lot of banks are trying to make decisions relative to software, and they're going about it the wrong way. They should not be worrying about what software. They should be worrying about working on their workflows, and it's all documented before they select any type of software to ensure that it matches their workflows. And they get an incredible opportunity now because of coding is such a commodity now. From my price perspective, it's all about the software, which is expensive. And now you can build the software if you understand your workflows and how this works. So for a bank CEO, the days of saying, I don't understand this, I'm going to have my IT department worry about it.
Yeah.
It's not going to end well.
Yep.
And I'm not trying to be, we've been saying this for a couple of years, and I'm really not trying to be dramatic about it, because I'm a non-tech person, you're a non-tech person, and if I can learn this, anyone can learn this at my age. So the intimidation factor is your own fear of not learning this, or feeling intimidated that you don't know this as a CEO. But guess what? Every other leader in the country, including myself, you, anyone else that lives this, learns every single day, because it changes every single day.
Yep, absolutely. I had a conversation with somebody that's in the payment space, and crypto and Bitcoin and stablecoin and tokenized deposits and ACH and redoing wires. And she made that comment, not anything to do with AI, but she's like, every day I wake up and I'm like, what's different? Like what I knew yesterday is not what I need to know today. And we chuckled about it, and both of us are comfortable in that world, but that scares the bejesus out of a lot of people. Like they want that cheese to be in the same damn spot
Well,
every single day, and it's moving around. Some days it's not even cheese, and that
and Eric, I don't know about you, but from my perspective in my career, maybe in 08, 09, we went through some of this in terms of the job market. But guess
yeah
what? If you're a senior C level or EVP level or even VP level at any bank or any financial institution, and you have to go to this job market right now, and you have long tenure,
yeah yeah
just the interview process alone. If you haven't interviewed in a long time, it's a completely different process from when you
yep.
probably were hired the first time.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I joke, my resume said proficient in Microsoft Office products, including Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. I think I even put Microsoft Publisher on there because I was doing publisher stuff when I was in college. And, now you'd get laughed out of the organization if you put that on as a skill set. There's things that are becoming table stakes that you can't even really
No.
draw on, that are reinforcement slash differentiators to others in the hunt. It's just, yeah, you're going to have to do it. And if you can't, then good luck. So
Same.
yeah,
Our motto is learn it, build it, leverage it. I mean,
yep,
you have to learn it, and the just the drag and drop type tools are a great starting point to learn it. But
yeah,
really, just look internally in terms of asking your organization or your team you work with of, hey, how do we do work? And that's what we're trying to figure out. How do
yeah,
we do work? And the tasks evolved. And just because that task is there in that workflow doesn't necessarily mean that it's right or wrong. But let's get in front of a whiteboard in summertime. It's a great time to do that, where it's, change of season and things of that nature. And it's maybe not as busy, but you're right, Eric. You're going to have to take 3 or 4 steps backwards to go forward in this world. But look at it from an optimistic perspective, that you have the opportunity, which has nothing to do with tech, to build a business or a part of the business that you would like to see the business be processed. The factory.
yeah, yep, absolutely. So
I
we've
really
given
liked
you
your
our thoughts. I'm curious, what have you seen, Martha? Is there anything else that jumps out that you've noticed from banks, that they're spinning their wheels and they shouldn't be doing it? And that's the way we've always done it. And does it need to be replaced? What are your thoughts?
That's the same old stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, I hate to even say it, but I was traveling last weekend and I saw this billboard on the highway that said free checking, free gift, and it had the bank's name. And I thought, what are you doing? Why are you spending money to tell people that you're going to pay them to come bank with you? And instead, wouldn't that be better spent like doing what you were just describing, Eric, figuring out what's this problem that needs to be solved, that some people really need help with? We can serve them.
Yeah.
And I came across a financial institution that specifically serves political candidates and nonprofits who have an issue. And I thought, wow, that's like so fascinating, because somebody recognized they've got special financial needs that are different than a small business or different than a nonprofit. And hey, we have expertise in this area and we're going to bring you some products that really help you. Like, I thought that was fabulous.
Yeah.
And, there are unmet needs like that out there. Why aren't we looking for those?
Yeah. Leaning into that. Absolutely.
And talk about opportunity. I think there's going to be tremendous opportunity for either a community bank or an online institution, or there's going to be a lot of solopreneurs that are going to be starting their own business, that are going to need lines of credit, and putting them in a HELOC is not the right product in terms of doing the right thing for the clientele in terms of them starting their business. And if they're staying within their industry that they're in, and now they're going smaller into a geography, it's a huge opportunity. And you can read any deep research or any type of research. There's going to be more solopreneurs in the market as business owners than there ever has been. And we're already starting to see that trend. So the banks that figure out how to serve their needs, and I don't think it's a big bank. I think it would be a smaller bank that really understands what it is to be a business owner and not get caught up in the bureaucracy and things of that nature. To your point, Martha, it's sounding different.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's like half of millennials and Gen Z have a side hustle already.
Oh my
Some of
God.
them just are going to keep it as a side hustle, but some of them are doing that to grow it into something. So there's a huge market there that I agree with you, RJ. It's going to continue to grow. And somebody who's thinking about that can help them. Now, I believe Joel Castilla's bank in Citizens Bank in Edmond is doing some of that.
Okay.
They turned one of their big branches into like an incubator and are really fostering some of that. And they've, Jill even told me they are, she said, we're not threatened by side hustles. So some of their own employees have side hustles, which makes them great people to talk to customers who have a side hustle or a small business because they've gone through some of that.
I preach, when I say preach, I think in the future you're going to have multiple revenue streams. And I love that Jill does that. Doesn't surprise me knowing her, that doesn't surprise me one bit. And embracing that, because if that person is happy and they're filling probably their passion and their soul with their side hustle, it's only going to be reflected when they show up to do their W-2 job. Mm-hmm. And it's more life, it's life work embedded, ingrained with each other than the work-life balance separation. And then guess what? The side hustle skills that they're probably learning, AI and how to do these, that they can correlate right into their work from a documentation perspective, not the technology side.
Yeah. I'm trying to, I'm doing a little side research. There's a bank out there. It looks like, before I go and, Oxygen, Oxygen, oxygen.us, is banking for the extraordinary. Oxygen services currently unavailable. So maybe that wasn't such a good find. So I'm reading this out loud, the joy of live streaming. But I know that there are other banks out there that are focused, because I just can't put my finger on them right now, that have kind of come out for the gig economy. And I heard, I want to say it was Lee Weatherington. He joined a session that I was doing, and he talked about, I think it was him, the number of small businesses that are buried or hidden inside of a financial institution because they're running their business through their personal checking account. Mm-hmm. And not having the realization that these are businesses that are selling stuff on Etsy, they're doing stuff on other places, they're gigging out on, Fiverr and other places, and they don't understand or maybe feel intimidated by the fees and costs and charges that are typically associated with a business account. So they just run it through their personal account. But the downside is they probably don't have an LLC. They don't know what their exposure is. If something went sideways, they've got personal liability that, so they need someone to come along and go, hey, Martha, this probably isn't the best thing for you. What happens if something that you create or make or deliver or develop ends up getting you sued? If you don't have the veil of a corporation or an LLC to protect you, they could take all your stuff. And they're like, most of these people, to your point, RJ, are doing it because they're passionate. It's fun. They're making extra money. They're not thinking about some of the other things. And that's where an FI can come in and be that partner. To your point, Martha, it's not free gift. It's like, hey, we're going to help you cover your ass. So if you get sued or something happens, we're going to make sure you structure this the right way so that you're positioned for growth.
I think Oxygen Bank does have a resource for starting an LLC. Yeah, there's stuff like, I also think about the tax consequences, about
Yes.
mangling that business and your personal funds. That could just be a nightmare.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
So if we
I
talk about
think
financial ed, we're always talking about financial ed for our
Yeah.
customers. And I think we're thinking about things like budgeting and first time home buying, but
Yeah. You're
really it
right.
could
Yeah.
be things like
it's
this.
I think it's more the business and the first time house. I mean, my boys are 32 and 27. Neither of them are talking about a house. It's they've resigned themselves that they'll be in condos or apartments.
Yep.
And you said something earlier too, Martha, Eric. I forget who said it, but in regards to the next generation of buyers, they are going to be looking at who they do business with from a different lens than the way that we looked at who we do business with. They're
Yeah.
going to be very focused on how the company treats their employees, how they're
Yeah.
do they give to the community, and they're going to rally behind those type of companies and banks. Like, I think my kids probably think Venmo's a bank.
Yeah. I did that. There are a lot that do that. And I think Ron Shevlin's What's Going On in Banking report, every year that comes out. And I think that is a statistic that's been in the last several that I can remember, that people put their money in Venmo. It's easily accessible. They've got a debit card. They can go ahead and pay their friends. They can use it to go shopping. They can buy stuff online. Not a foggy clue. It's not FDIC insured. It's not protected by your bank. It doesn't have any sort of, you're not going to earn interest on that. That's for sure. So not that a checking account pays a lot of interest these days. Anyway, you might be able to get a free gift though, right, Martha?
You might get a toaster.
That toaster.
Yeah. My first free gift, a little squirrel moment here. My dad was a banker for many, many years. And when I was old enough, I saved my money and I went in, and the bank had a teller window that had steps. That was like the junior teller window. So the little kids could go and they could bring their piggy bank in. And I put enough money in where I could actually get a digital watch, where when you press the button, the screen lit up and it was the red letters, the numbers, and then eventually it would go dark. And I just thought I was the coolest thing because I had this watch that I could press a button and tell you what time it was. That was my free gift. But, I don't know whether I technically met the requirements, but when your dad's the president, he probably was just like, yeah, I can give my kid a watch. He'll be happy with it. So
That was a cool gift.
yeah, back then. Yeah, it was pretty sweet. So, hey, your comment, RJ, about the next generation of consumer. I recently had a conversation and there was a bunch, I say a bunch, 3 older gentlemen with gray hair, energetic and young at heart, because I was one of them, of course. But we were talking about voice agents and AI and, different ways to reach your customer. And there was the comment about, I would be so pissed if an AI bot called me and started having a conversation and I found out that it was an AI. But then we kind of shifted and said, but that's our generation. And I think I'm probably a little bit, because I would like play with it and try to dump it. I would, I would push its buttons just to see if I could break it. But what are your thoughts on like the younger generation? If you got a phone call or if they got a phone call that was like, hey, RJ, I'm an AI assistant at XYZ, blah, blah, blah. And I'm following up on some stuff for Martha in the office. Wonder if you've got a moment to answer a few questions for me.
If it will make my life easier with less friction,
yeah,
I'm all for it. I'm a firm believer in first principle thinking. I have Starlink for my home. I never talk to a human. Everything's AI. The customer service, everything runs perfectly. I'm never on hold. I get my questions answered. Why would I be against that?
Yeah. When are you getting your robot, by the way? I'm curious. Do your dishes.
See, I'm not that. Yeah, I'm all about taking friction out of the system, not about, the humans still have to be, a key component. And we call, we hear human in the loop. I firmly believe it's not human in the loop. It's human driving the AI and the LLM. If you're in the loop, you're just being reactionary to it. if you're forward looking engineering wise, you're driving it to where you want it to go.
Yeah, that's true.
Big difference.
Martha, what are your thoughts? I mean, if you were to get a call and it just said, I'm an AI assistant for RJ, we're following up on some stuff, we need to answer some questions. Do you have a minute? Would you hang up? Would you be like, yeah, I'll talk to it? Where are you at in that spectrum?
Well, first off, I'm so paranoid about fraud that I'm not sure I would talk to it if it called me.
Yep. Good point.
But I also don't think it's good enough yet.
Yeah.
I mean, all the AIs make mistakes, and I don't trust it yet, but I think it could get there.
Yeah.
Here, let me give you an example of how we're using it. So you're right in terms of the fraud. So if we have the business owner's mobile phone number, we'll do a one-time password that will text it to them while the AI agent's on the phone. And typically what we're doing is we are calling to verify certain information, where if it was a human, they would be playing phone tag back and forth. So what this particular client did was proactively telling the business owner, we have deployed this technology because it will make your life a lot easier when we receive this call, which we have to do from an audit perspective. So they already tee it up, and that used to be what we called a 4-call process.
Yeah.
In terms of a retouch. We're now down to 1 call. So you think about that in terms of an ROI of the investment of the human being. And here's the other thing from my perspective. Typically my mobile phone rings, unfortunately I hear pop, and it's someone from over on the other side of the world trying to talk to me that I can't understand anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the AI it's advancing. It's scary. It's scary, Martha. I completely agree with you. Our family, food for thought, we have a code word for our own family. So if they ever receive a call from me, or if they're not sure, we have a code word that we will tell each other when we're together as a family. We'll use that for the next year, just in case.
Is it I love Eric Cook? I mean, you can tell me.
That was last year's.
Because mine's RJ Rocks. So yeah, now I got to change it. Darn it. I just gave it out. Oh, I got to fix that now. So,
but just little things like that. That's all.
Yeah.
Just trying to stay in front of the bad guys.
Yep. Yeah. That's a constant whack-a-mole. That's for sure. I mean, when we talk to bankers, and even when I do presentations, and I usually get a chuckle because we get to a point where I'm starting to talk about all these things that are going on. And I'm like, by the way, you all have them. When you get home back to the bank, find your IT, your cybersecurity guy, and give them a hug. Even if they don't like physical contact, they're probably in the basement with the windows, if they even have windows, windows are drawn, doors shut, and the glow of the computer screen, and they're just keeping the bank safe. Just show up and give them a hug and tell them that you care. They'll probably wonder what's going on. Hopefully you won't have an HR incident, but their job is getting harder and harder and harder to keep the bad guys out. So, well, along the voice lines, and this is what I alluded to when we were doing our pre-show before I hit the go live button. I sat in on the OpenAI, and it's been leapfrog, Anthropic. They got Fable. They don't have Fable. Now the Mythos, and then Fable's back, and now they're going to give you extra tokens. And so, not to be outdone, OpenAI had a live event today, and it was about a half an hour long, and they had individuals that were demonstrating their new voice model. And they shared a story of someone from a prefecture in Japan using AI to help with his crops. They flew him to San Francisco and had him on stage, pressed the button on the ChatGPT app, and in real time, it was translating from English to Japanese. He was talking in Japanese, and it was going back to English. And it was real time, so it glitched out at about probably 3 or 4 minutes into the conversation, and they reset it. But it was live. It was happening as the person was talking. There was almost zero lag. And I was text messaging with a couple of other folks on my team, And we were all just like, OMG, and that's live. Wow, there's no lag. And, my brain immediately went to a couple of years ago. I took my Rabbit R1 device. I don't know if I've talked about that on this lately, but the little orange puck that I bought, I did some translation with it at an event that brought in a customer that was Hispanic. They ran a restaurant, and native language obviously was not English. And we went back and forth. I had to press the button, and he commented on how realistic, like that was one of the best translation experiences that he's had. And this was like 2 years ago using the Rabbit device. But I had to press a button, and now this thing just basically sits on the table and you're off to the races. You could take that anywhere in the world and be able to converse. And it was like mind blowing. So I'm thinking like customer service, real-time translation. Somebody walks into the office and you don't speak Spanish, but I want to take care of you. Press a button, boom, here it goes. And then of course, what do they talk about? Is it private or confidential? And where's that data going? And is it being stored anywhere? So all of those conversations. But if you've not checked it out, I'm going to share the URL with you all. But if you go to openai.com/live, that will get you to their live streams. And it's the most recent one. And if you get on the list, when they have live streams, they will send you an email reminder. You can drop it on your calendar, and then you can watch while it's actually being released. But I would encourage you to check that out, because I pulled it up on my phone. I downloaded the latest version of the app. Now I've not seen Solar, or I think it's Solar or Soul. The latest models that they talked about that are pending release, like GPT 5.6 is like the next, oh my gosh. But I was using the translation model, and I don't speak French. I had 2 years in college or in high school, so it's been a really long time. But I had it translate, and it was just spitting it out. And then I decided to get a little cheeky, and I said, "Do you happen to know Pig Latin?" And she did. And so I said, "Could you do live translation into Pig Latin?" And you could almost hear, because the voice technology now has been improved where it sounds like super, super natural. And I swear ChatGPT actually giggled a little bit when I asked the question and was like, yeah, I could probably try that. And so I was like giving her phrases and Ishe, Uzwe, Igpe, Igpe, Atenle, and we were going back and forth, and it was hilarious. Just so much fun. But anyway, that kind of translation, I just think of what that's going to do from a communication perspective to break down barriers between people and cultures and try to look at the altruistic positive of it all.
Yes.
Wow. It was so cool. So
Eric,
and that's where the bank compliance people are going to have to catch up, because like you said, where's this data being stored? Who's listening?
Yep.
Are we 100% sure that this translation is correct? Are we sharing the correct terms of this loan document?
Yep.
A lot of belt and suspenders.
Yeah.
But that goes back to the workflows where you're able to build the agents now to do what those humans could do, and you can look at it from different ways and then have all that tracked in terms of the black box of what that agent did. And because you're driving it by the prompt that you're writing with the endpoints.
Yeah.
That's where this is harder. This is hard because it's really understanding how your business works. Where before the software, and then we would use our human wisdom, and we made great things happen.
That's a good point. Martha, did you have anything else to add on that?
No.
Yeah. So I want to double down on how your business works, and the term SOP just jumped into my head because I just wrote one for a process that we're struggling with, and we're trying to figure out why it's not working. And so I took a bunch of documents, loaded them up into Claude, and said, "Hey, I need you to help me build an SOP for this so we get it consistent." Because once you build that consistency, then you can go ahead and figure out ways to automate elements that don't require the human. How are you approaching that process, either for your own businesses or when you're working with clients where you need to build that? Is it a conversation? Are you using any tools to do that? How hard is it to get a business owner or a banker or whoever to think about their process? Because sometimes it's like, I don't know, I just do it. Like I've been doing it for so long, it's muscle memory. I can't tell you how I tie my shoes. I just, I got a bow. If I had to like map it out, I don't think I could do it. So how do you approach that? Don't all talk at once. That's
Go ahead, Martha.
Is this thing on? Hello. Tap, tap, tap. Hello.
I'm thinking.
You're thinking. All right. You got something
I'll
on
go.
there? Yeah.
I'll go. So we have a defined process, and the first thing is actually defining your words that you're going to use in your business, a glossary. And each word has to be defined before you even start talking about any type of automation, because the first thing that starts your automation is the trigger. And if you don't have the trigger defined to start the automation, nothing else will work, as well as you have to have your endpoint, which is the stop trigger. So that's where the alignment comes into play and your SOPs. And it's really then the schematics of the orchestration of the automation of what agent's doing what at what time. And really it's coming down to a new term that you have not heard, Eric, yet, where right now the rage is looping, right? Everyone's discussing looping. The next one is durable execution. And what that means is that the automation's not breaking down and or protecting it from your API token costs, because you're seeing agents that go off the rails and all of a sudden you're getting a token bill for your APIs, where if you have to build the workflows specifically on the orchestration where it pings the API, and then you limit the amount of times it can ping it as well.
Yeah.
But it's a very defined process to build it out, and then imagine that. So for one task, and then trying to get an entire organization to agree on just words.
What would you say would be the most misdefined word that you hear businesses or bankers or leaders use, where there's the most confusion on what the word means?
Complete.
Okay. For me, it's agent, because there are so many different ways, and I give Microsoft credit and or blame when they made the decision to call their version of custom GPTs Copilot agents. Mm-hmm. And then other organizations start coming along with the concept of agentic workflows and automated task efforts. And so there's people now that think either an agent is something that's just merely a prompt on steroids, like a Copilot agent or a custom GPT. And there's others that think that all agents have to operate without the involvement of a human, and then they can run at their own speed and spend their own token cost. And so part of that is just getting their definition of what this means. But we've really only scratched the surface on that. We've not spent the time to really develop the full glossary of terms. I think it's a brilliant idea. I really like that. I might steal it if you don't mind.
Go ahead. Yeah. Eric, we're all just trying. We're all in this together. So,
so Martha, any thoughts on that? We gave you lots of time to think, but you were probably just paying really close attention and weren't thinking anyway. You were just in what RJ was saying, so you weren't multitasking.
I don't know. I'm still processing.
Yeah, like just do you have? And I'm guilty of this as well. I feel like this is a lot of therapy and admission for me today on our July episode. From an SOP perspective, I had not been very good at SOPs. And, I started the business by myself and ran it by myself. I had, whether it was the blessing or the curse of, I'd known already how to build websites, and I was doing it on the side as a hobby. So I didn't really need to formalize the process because it was just mad money at the end of the day while I was working my real job as a banker. So when I started the agency, I kind of had an idea. I didn't appreciate the power of having something documented and an SOP in place, and the fact that it would not just be beneficial for me to be consistent, which would help my customers, but as the team grew and I brought in people or we started leveraging partners, I had the realization that, you know what, people can't read my mind, not even my wife. I don't know why. You think that they should, but they can't. And so without an SOP or instructions or a documented process, it was really frustrating for things to be done the way I wanted them done, because I was the only one that knew how it needed to be done. And now with AI, and we've already, I mean, we started this SOP journey several years ago, and I think we're getting better at it. But I can't help but think, had I started that journey 19 years ago when I started the business, and now where we're at with AI, if everything that was part of my business had been defined and structured and put into instructions and SOPs, the ability to be able to provide some automation and some assistance in that area from technology would be almost an astronomical benefit. So if you've not done that, lessons learned, folks, do as I say, not as I do. Think about those things from an operational perspective. And to RJ's point, define the terms so that everybody's on the same page, so that somebody doesn't think complete is one thing and complete is no, the loan's closed and we're collecting payments, versus no, it's complete, the application's been submitted, we're done. Like, where is the completion in this process? Or does completion go all the way until they pay the loan off and they need a new one? So then you're taking into, how are we serving the customer? How are we processing their loan payments? How are we providing them with additional products and services and upsell opportunities to enhance their wallet share? Complete has got, I mean, just in that little blurb, 3 different definitions that 3 people sitting around the table could have 3 completely different perspectives of done. So I'm sure you've never seen that before, right, RJ? That's just me speculating.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But I think Eric, though, you're like most business owners, guilty as charged as well. You just, especially when you're building the airplane, you know, and it's in the air and you're trying to generate revenue, everything else, who has time to slow down and say, okay, let's document what I did? It's so unorthodox for us to do that. So, however, entrepreneurs, which, you know, I'm passionate about, and
Absolutely.
and I was a hoarder of every document my entire career, over 20 years, 25 years, of every credit policy, everything. And looking back now, probably in the early days, I probably shouldn't have taken or took some of that data. But at the end of the day, I could take 25 years of credit policies and layer them on top of each other, and they're all saying the same darn thing. It boils down. And because I was on this journey around innovation, and who drove the innovation, the entrepreneur, was the only reason I landed where I have today. And it's nothing to do with the technology, nothing to do with the technology at all. And everybody wants to make it around the software and the technology and call it AI. It's just an opportunity to really build great operations when you understand how your operation in your factory works.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Cool. What else you got? Any other nuggets of wisdom? Yes.
You've bounced back and forth a little bit between OpenAI and Claude. How are you using each? And specifically in Claude, are you in Claude Cowork or Claude Design or Claude Code, or when you're using Claude per se?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay.
No, I wish I could say I was using it to the extent that I should be using it. I had Mark from our team hold my hand on an initiative that I needed some help with. I caught a post on LinkedIn from my friend Angie Carell, and she talked about she downloaded a video tool from GitHub that basically takes regular videos, slices them up, and turns them into short vertical formatted video and does captions. Still, mine don't look anywhere near hers, but I've never gone into a Git repository and downloaded stuff and done
The
things.
PR.
Never done any of that. And
Yeah.
so I was like, Mark, can you help? And so we hopped on a Google Meet and shared screens, and he was walking me through stuff, and things broke, and he's like, copy and paste and put it back in. It'll figure it out. That was really eye-opening for me. And I could see where if I did that more often, I'd get more comfortable with it. I tend to be still more on the GUI interface side of things. So the regular chat and then the co-work side of things, I do have a skill that we've created that gives me the ability to pump out some nice branded documents.
Yeah.
It loaded up the wrong version of our WSI logo. And for probably 3 weeks, I couldn't figure out for the life of me where that freaking little logo was at and how to get it replaced. And finally, I just said, I'm just going to keep my head down and keep trying until I can find it. Ask it questions. How do I get there? And I think that's the lesson for me is allocate some time and just be curious and explore and ask it questions. I would like to spend a little bit more time inside of Codex, which is the ChatGPT version of like, OpenClaw and all that other stuff. That's got some interesting capabilities to it that we've not seen in some of the other platforms, to be able to just automatically memorize and see you do a thing, and then it replicates that for you. I spend a lot of time searching still using Perplexity. I've got the desktop app. I've got Perplexity Computer installed, and I play around with that a little bit. And then Notebook LM. Everybody knows, if you know me, that's one of my faves. They've come out with vertical formatted video where you can do short form video now, where you can just load up a bunch of stuff. And I pushed one out just the other day on some LinkedIn tips, because I had a library of like 40 different LinkedIn resources that I've curated, and it put together a cool little short form faceless video. So that's been kind of fun. But I'm curious, the same question back to you, RJ. Where are you spending your time these days?
Primarily I've been really heads down in Claude Code and Claude Co-work. And then when Designer popped up, I'm like, oh, what's this?
Yeah.
And then, of course, went down that rabbit hole for a little bit. And then this week I've been spending a little bit more time in OpenAI on their workflows and their skills, learning a little bit more on how to set up your file folders in terms of when you're building out the agent and your harnesses and things of that nature. So it's been interesting to see when you're in different SDKs, one word back to, you become very literal using these tools because you have to define things. It's like, why can't you all use the same word for this versus confusing?
Back to my agent problem,
versus confusing us.
Come on, it's an agent. It's an agent. It's an agent. Let's get on the same page.
Right.
Nope, not going to do it.
Not going to do it. Not going to do it. That'd be too easy.
Yeah.
Well, I think all of this kind of begs the question. I mean, we're talking about our SOPs. Like, what are our SOPs for using AI for different applications? So if it's for content development or self-promotion, what are the SOPs for doing that properly? And I was, we got a RFP a couple days ago where I hadn't seen this before. They said, tell us what your policy is for how you're going to use AI and when you're going to share, what you used for creative development and what you didn't, and like all this kind of stuff. And I thought, okay, now we've got to explain to them how we do this and how we fact check. But, that seems like a continuing to expand list of several SOPs for the different applications that we're doing, so that we don't end up with that little wrong logo that we've got to go back and find.
So it's interesting that you asked that question, because the last item that I wrote on my piece of paper, I was like, well, I'm not going to get a chance to talk about that. And then your question appeared magically, and I think this is appropriate. I caught a video on TikTok about somebody talking about Cisco rolling out agents for all 90,000 employees by like midsummer. So every employee within Cisco is going to have their own agent that's going to be able to do things for them, that has access to a variety of different models and has been basically programmed or instructed to understand what the person wants to do. And based off of the knowledge that they built into the process, I don't know if this is a harness, if I'm using that term right, but it looks for what is it that Martha's trying to do. Do I need to go like full guns a-blazing and engage, Fable? Or is this something that I could do with our own because they built their own, which might have maybe some open source, still safe. And what was interesting about that, because I'm kind of working on a post that I'd like to be able to push out just to share some thoughts, wasn't that everybody necessarily had an agent, but it was that these agents had a deeper understanding of the work to be performed. And the visitor, the user, the employee didn't need to think about, well, where do I go? Or what do I do? So like the question that RJ asked is still a very valid question today, but in 5 years, are we even going to know what models we're going to be using? Like instead of what models, what platforms, what environments are using code or cowork or OpenAI or ChatGPT or Claude, it's what are the activities that you're doing, and behind the scenes, it's just figuring it out. And we saw a little bit of that, like with some of the models went to just like, best whatever. And, you didn't have to pick which one you wanted when ChatGPT had like 15 freaking models that, 4.0, 4.0 mini. It's like, oh my gosh, how do you even know? Being able to focus on the SOP of the work to be performed. I want to do this to produce this that meets these requirements and then deliver it to the customer. AI, you figure out what the best tool behind the scenes is and make sure that you check all these boxes from a compliance, from a legitimacy, from an authenticity, from a if it's statistics, you better give me sources of where you found that information. But the model is maybe going to be inconsequential as these kind of all interchange and are just doing really, really good stuff. So that's kind of what triggered. But I thought that was interesting that they're getting agents, but they don't have to really think about it. It's just they got someone sitting next to them to help them at work.
Are they getting agents, or are they getting more of a sandbox?
The way that it was positioned, and I did more research and I saw some articles on Forbes, and their CFO was talking about it. They referred to it as every employee is getting their own personal agent.
Okay.
And so now I also had some conversations with friends of mine that said that's ridiculous because that's duplication and you're not leveraging. So you're better off building out agents that work at a departmental level. So rather than every person in the marketing department having their own individual agent, worrying about those communicating with each other, you create a marketing agent that the team shares and collaboratively learns from everybody's experience. You create an accounting agent, you create a loan agent, you create an HR and an employee onboarding agent, and it gets that experience that then authorized individuals have access to. So the agent can learn from multiple people in the organization, but knows when it needs to double check its work or who its boss is. So it can go back and confirm, hey, should I learn this? Should I memorize this? Should I repeat this? Should I do more of this? So I don't know what the right answer is there, but that's just one of those other like, holy crap, the world just changed again. Now I got to pay attention to something else. Like, what did you say the name of that started with a D? The term I've never heard before.
Deterministic?
Yeah. You said you heard about loops, but
that means it. Oh no.
Deterministic.
Geez.
See, you even forgot it.
Well, yeah, you're gonna put me on my old what you just threw at me, or what you were just saying. I agree with, and dependable. Anyways,
I'll rewind it.
I believe we're gonna go to sovereign data. I think the race is going to be to build out your own LLMs specifically to the tasks that you want to do in a bank or any type of organization. And you're going to want to control your own data and have your own engineers and your own workstations, because the cost of building out the software is going to drop. It's already dropping tremendously.
Yeah.
And the tools are going to be, from a data security perspective, you're going to partner with Azure, Amazon, AWS, so your tenant is secure. And the days of long implementations, there's really no excuse if you have your workflows documented and everything that we've discussed. You can build software because of AI and then have the human engineer approve everything to ensure from a commercialization perspective.
Yep. And if it's in your tenant and it's coming in, token costs now become somewhat inconsequential.
Correct.
Because unless you really need heavy lifting, you probably don't need to go outside.
Well, you just go smaller on your model if you really need the heavy lifting, because then it's more of a tight algorithm that's reading the data, whatever you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, cool.
Then we haven't even talked about quantum yet.
Yeah, well, that will be our next episode. Join us in August for the second Thursday for our next engaging episode of the LinkedBanker Happy Hour. So, Martha, RJ, this has been super enjoyable. I always love these, and I love it even more when good friends show up and we can just talk, and hopefully people watching either live or catching the recording got some good ideas and some thoughts. So, what's on your summer agenda? What do you got planned over the next 30 days that you're kind of excited about?
Swimming. I need to go swimming.
Staying cool. There you go.
I have a lot of golf, hopefully, and some boat time, and enjoying Pure Michigan. So
nice.
How about yourself?
Yes, boat time, Pure Michigan. I'm not traveling again till mid-month, so I get a couple of weeks at home.
Good for you.
And we are in the final stages of a new house build, and so I don't know, maybe by August, I might actually be in the house that I'm continuing to watch across the street get built. So that's very exciting. So so that's kind of cool. But labor of love, I'm not swinging hammers, so somebody else is doing it. But I'm watching the whole process, and they're doing a great job. So
awesome.
That'll be fun.
Awesome.
So
congratulations.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks, guys and gals, and everyone else that was there. Appreciate your time being part of our happy hour. We go live the second Thursday of every month at 5 p.m. Eastern time. So put it on your calendar. Join us the next time. Come up, be part of the conversation, and share it with your friends. The more the merrier, like any happy hour. The more people that show up, the more fun it becomes. So cool. Enjoy your rest of July, and we'll see you online. Bye for now.
Thanks for hosting us, Eric.
Take care. Thanks for coming. Bye-bye.